Now we'll start the sessions. We'll start our session with a presentation by Mr. Nimesh Shah, Managing Director and CEO, ICICI Prudential Mutual Fund. Mr. Nimesh Shah had joined ICICI Prudential as his Managing Director in July 2007. Nimesh has completed his Chartered Accountancy. Prior to joining ICICI Prudential AMC, Nimesh was Senior General Manager at ICICI Bank and has around 20 years of experience in banking and financial services. That's a huge experience. At ICICI Group, he has handled many responsibilities including project, finance, corporate banking, international banking. He is also instrumental in formulating an entry strategy for gaining a foothold in the existing consortium of bankers for the working capital finance foray of ICICI Bank Limited. Subsequently, he was made in charge of the Western Zone, wherein he was responsible for managing key corporate accounts with an asset portfolio of USD 500 million. Nimesh has been associated with one of the first batches of senior managers selected to lead the foray of ICICI Bank into international arena. He has also led ICICI Bank's foray into Middle Eastern region, Africa, and helped establish the brand presence of ICICI in these geographies. May I welcome Nimesh Shah, Managing Director and CEO of ICICI Prudential Mutual Fund.
Hello. This start that we had was a fantastic one. Whenever this Janagana in Bombay, whenever you have to see a movie, the Janagana, the national anthem comes first. And every time I hear a national anthem, it is not such a classy one that we saw it over here, but every time I hear the national anthem, I don't know, for some reason I get tremendous goosebumps. Even today the same thing happened, and this was a fantastic version. I have not done a elaborate presentation. I thought I would be more talking to people. Because this particular slide, I have been seeing it since 2007, and I'm showing Bala must have been seeing it since 1998. So the same slide that mutual fund is, I was told that we should speak about how big the mutual fund industry is going to become, etc., etc. So my whole take is that you are asking me to make the same presentation since last 6 years, and this is exactly the same slide I am seeing it since 6 years. So I'll just rush over that. But I really believe, especially when debt funds, when we are talking about debt funds, when debt funds have been in a lot of action, that this slide says a lot of it, that why I believe, and this is the only slide I'm going to present on why mutual fund industry is going to become so big, is that why I believe that mutual fund industry has the potential to become big in the country, and I believe it will happen. The question is when. The question is when it will happen. There is no doubt that it has to happen. Why I'm saying this is that I come from the banking industry, where when you look at any of the banks, when you look at Kotak Bank, when you look at HDFC Bank, when you look at ICICI Bank or any of the government banks, you will see the NIIs that they earn is around 3 to 4%. I'm comparing it with the charge that we do. I take it as a charge that they charge the customers for giving credit, vis-a-vis what charge we have on our debt funds. And that's where the opportunity is. The difference is, one is a pass-through vehicle and other is not a pass-through vehicle. That is the difference between a charge of 1.75 and a charge of 3.5 to 4. And if we are able to manage those debt funds well, then sky's the limit. That is what my own sense on the debt funds business is all about. If we manage our credits well, then there is no way that my sponsor, I know I come from a bank, but I believe then my sponsor will also look at, today what we are an insignificant part of the sponsor's business. Banks are so big in India vis-a-vis the mutual funds, but if mutual funds manage credit well, it can be a very significant business for the bank in years to come. That is what my sense is, it will happen. Whether it will happen, we take the current opportunity in debt funds that is possible, or we do it in future, that is a question. But in the next 3 to 5 to 7 years, I believe this great opportunity will come out of this particular slide, because the charge that mutual funds charge is much less. If we are able to manage our business well, there is a great opportunity waiting for us. I will just get into, I saw one of the Morningstar presentations I was in, and I just saw the slides in Morningstar. So I thought, let me pick up the slides rather than producing the same slides again and again, which I made in 2007 also. I thought let me just pick up the slides from the Morningstar presentation, which I found very useful. This is something what has happened in the US market through the mutual fund industry. They just plotted down the top 12 AMCs in 1986 and what is there in 2011. If you see, the list is quite different. There are very few similar cases between 86 and 91. In 25 years, the players who stayed in the industry completely changed. Why did this happen? Why did the new players come in? Why did the existing players go away? That is what and some of them had to reinvent themselves or are surviving only on the money market fund. This is Morningstar data that I found that very interesting. It is a learning for us also, and this I've seen it 4 years back. This is not today's data that Morningstar has presented. It is the 2011 data. One thing is very clear in this industry: leadership is not permanent. So if you are able to continuously, and what made the leaders work, that is what I am thinking. My whole theme of today's talk that I plan to give is that what made some AMCs work well, and why did some AMCs fade away from existence. That is what, so leadership is not permanent, and what works. And somewhere I give credit to whatever my thought process is to Mr. Dhirendra Kumar also. 5 years back I had met him in Delhi restaurant. Dhirendra, you remember 5 years back, first time I met you. और उन्होंने मुझे खूब सुनाया. उन्होंने मुझे सुनाया कि whether do you want to hear good things about yourself or you want to hear bad things. So I'll say one good thing and one bad thing both. Yeah, so he started off by saying that I went to Tinsukia, and in Tinsukia your product was there. Your mutual fund product was available in Tinsukia. That's a good thing. And the bad thing is the product that guy has bought, he is never going to make money on that. That was the bad thing. So then I asked him that why you are not very charitable to us. Whenever I see you don't write very good things about us, and why don't you write good things about us? Then he gave me a lecture for the next 2 hours. Right, so we have learned from people like Dhirendra, and I heard for next 2 hours, and that had a huge impact on me. He went on and on and on that why he does not write good things about ICICI Prudential AMC, and that is from where I have picked up. And somewhere all these points really gauge in. When I say a closed architecture to an open architecture, essentially what I am trying to say is that, or what even Dhirendra told me in those 2 hours was that, boss, you guys are too good in sales. You go and sell in Tinsukia. You are one of the best sales company, but a sales company does not, I don't respect a sales company. What is happening on your investment side? And he told me a lot of things about the investment side. I am not saying it because Dhirendra Kumar is over here. I say it a lot of other times also. That has created a huge impact as to what works as an AMC. I don't think that the best, if you are very good in sales, that will work for you. If you sponsor a lot of these events, it will work well for you. We had a fantastic speaker like Nimesh with us at that point of time. So फिर मेरा एक सेल्स वाला आके मुझे बोल के गया था कि सर सब नीलेश को आके सुन के जाते हैं, हाँ, बिकॉज नीलेश बातें बहुत अच्छी करता है और फिर और कोई म्यूचुअल फंड में इन्वेस्ट करते हैं. Right, that is the challenge. So I don't think the best sales guys in the country can make a mutual fund sustain for a long term. I'll take the first point, essentially what we have tried to do, essentially what kind of mutual funds will work. Mutual funds who have got an open architecture, mutual funds who can allow different styles of fund management to prosper under them, right? If there is, we have got this concept of a star fund manager, right? If this fund manager is good, then everything will work well. Somewhere we have moved away from that concept. As a company, we feel that you should have an open architecture within your company also. You should let different styles flourish. There cannot be one. If Naren is regarded as a very good fund manager, that Naren style, Narenization of company should not happen. Right, what I keep on saying within my company also, that there should be different styles that should work in the company. If Naren is very good in the value and the contra style, there should be other styles within the company and other fund managers who have got a very different style than Naren. I as a manager always keep my one downs who are very different from me. That we do in management. I think successful managers are those who allow people who are very different than you to prosper in the company. I have always done that as a manager. As a manager, I always allow people who are very different than me in the thought process to work, who are my one downs. Similarly, in fund management also it is very important that different fund style management are allowed to be working in the company parallelly. Different thoughts have to work parallelly. There have to be debates. It is not necessary that two fund managers should agree to each one another. Right? There is one, Naren has been saying last 1 year on one particular FMCG script that ITC is too overvalued, ITC is too overvalued, I don't want to get into that script, and there is another fund manager who's buying it out and has had a good experience on it. So different style of fund management should work in a single company. So when we go out as a brand, we can show that if you want this style of fund management, if Naren's style of fund management you want, you can go into this particular fund. If you want the growth style of fund management, then you can get into focus. So different kind of fund management style can work. A lot of industry has worked, and one thing that I always ensured, I am a chartered accountant by profession, so I have not forgotten that. I feel very weird when somebody says, "Mera strategic cost cut hai, I am going to cut costs." I don't know why there is a requirement to cut cost in business. Why do you increase cost in such a way that there is some day that a CEO has to come out and say that I am going to cut costs this year? If you run your business the way you run your own business, if you run a professional business the way you run your own business, you need not have to. So I think AMCs should, and this the industry has done well also according to me, vis-a-vis when I see the competing industry and I see the cost structures of those industries. I feel that the mutual fund industry has done a very good job of containing the costs vis-a-vis the other industries in the. I have always said that sales focus will not work in an AMC. AMC has to be a very boring, solid organization, right? I don't want dynamism to be associated with an AMC. You are managing somebody else's money. You are managing money in fiduciary capacity. You should be a boring, solid organization which is not trying too many new things at one point of time and is doing business in a very boring, solid way. That's what my philosophy has always been, and I feel that is the kind of AMCs that has worked even in the US. I think another thing that I feel which we have always advocated is that investment centricity. Have we always taken, is the AMC, before selecting an AMC where to put my money, I would like to see whether the AMC is investor centric or not. And investor centricity should come out of every action of the AMC. Not on the particular fund, not on one fund or not other fund. For survival of this, I am not saying being a philanthropy that I am not in philanthropy. I am into business, but the only way to do your business is to ensure that your final investor is not taken for a ride. Even at the cost of distributor, I know I am addressing distributors, but even distributors should not be paid excessive money which is coming out of the investor's pocket. That strategy will also not sustain in the long-term point of view. So there is a balance that AMC should keep between its own profitability, between the payout to the distributors and to the investors, so that the investor does not get an unfair deal. I get very, very worried, and I have started questioning the charges that we put on the smaller funds. The small funds of us, if the charges are becoming too high, then maybe there is time that we will have to address the charges. That we say that we will not sell it will not charge that incremental 30 bps in this particular fund. AMCs, according to me, we very proudly say sometimes that 100% of our funds have beaten the benchmark. If you have to continue saying that, at some point of time, even if SEBI allows a maximum charge to be charged, we'll have to say that we are not going to charge so much, we are going to charge lesser than that. So, if the whole focus of an AMC should be only on investors and only ensure that the fund performance is up there, that should be. And somewhere when I came into the industry in 2007, when we had a fund called ICICI Prudential Infrastructure Fund, it was rocking in performance. Some 80-90% or something like that was the performance, 1 year performance that used to come, and we were getting money by the rows. And a lot of I got a proposal from my product guys that let us come up with a infrastructure fund series 2. ICICI Prudential Fund is Infrastructure 1, Series 1, and then came a concept, let us now have another one, ICICI Prudential Infrastructure Series 2. I think it would have beaten all records. ICICI Prudential had taken out a fund called Technology Fund in 2000. It came out at 10 rupees, and I as an investor invested in that. My 10,000 rupees as a banker I had put in that fund. After very quickly that 10,000 rupees became 3,000 rupees. ऐसे तो कैसे experts को मैंने दे दिया था पैसा. I have not forgotten this. 14 years, 13 years, and I have still not forgotten that ICICI Prudential AMC had made 10 rupees into 3 rupees ICICI Prudential Technology Fund. I have still not forgotten that, and that is what exactly, if you follow hot concepts in 2000, and it was happening everywhere in the world. It was not only India. This is Morningstar presentation. In US also people were selling technology fund. In India also people sold technology fund. What would the impact that it would have created on the brand? How many customers like Nimesh Shah, ICICI Prudential would have lost permanently? It took me 7 years to again invest in ICICI Prudential. I never invested in ICICI Prudential after that. Because मेरा 10 रुपये का 3 रुपया हो गया. After that, how can I invest with that? So that is the one bad experience. The customer not only will not come, he'll also go and tell 10 other people that what a bad job that AMC is doing. So AMCs who go after hot concepts, thankfully now NFO culture anyway is gone, but a lot of AMCs have picked up a lot of money out of the NFOs rather than showing a sustained fund performance. But this was a ICICI Prudential Real Estate Mutual Fund. We would have invested in quoted here around this time. We went around the whole country. I myself would have gone and addressed some 30 road shows doing this US blue chip fund. We did it a lot. I went out, Naren went out, my sales guys completely went out. We did lots of road shows, and I'm sure that we have met each and every one of you to convince you on trying to invest in US blue chip fund. And we got a terrific record. We collected 52 crores in our NFO, right? And the fund gave some 39% return in 1 year's time. But how many people got the benefit of that? How many people got the benefit of a 39% return in 1 year? Hardly anybody. After so much effort, we completely failed in convincing the distributors or convincing the investors of the total amount invested was 52 crores. And I had to tell Naren that reduce your amount out of this fund, otherwise we'll hit the 25% limit of a single investor putting in more than 25% of the fund size. Right? So we were not able to collect even 40 crores from the entire country by after paying पूरा ICICI Prudential AMC का पूरा sales force लगाने के बाद मैं 40 crore collect नहीं कर पाया. This is the biggest failure that we had from a sales point of view. And we did all the efforts. We talked to the press. We ensured that every article came in the press. And I'm sure we have talked to each one of you. We tried to talk to all the intelligent product guys sitting in the bank. We were not able to convince anybody. And we just collected 40 crores. In an idea which we are totally convinced about, we were not able to convince. Why does all this happen? Why does all this happen? All this happens because essentially we are chasing performance. Essentially, India as a country, we all are looking at 1 year performance, 3 year performance, and as soon as 1 year, we all are looking at past track record and investing in funds. Last year we launched ICICI Prudential Dynamic Fund in Europe, and it was a very embarrassing, we had to become defensive to say that this fund over a 10-year period has given an alpha of 8%, that it has beaten a benchmark of 8%. We had to be very defensive. The whole discussion we had to only explain people that why this fund is not a risky fund. The questions that were coming to us, that are we a very risky fund? Are we a very risky fund that we are giving alpha of 8% over a period of time? We have to keep on explaining what happened in those 8 years. That is why the return was very high. Otherwise, we are not trying to even achieve alpha of 8%. We'll be very happy with alpha of 4 to 5%. ऐसा इंडिया में कोई नहीं पूछता है. Nobody asks us India that the kind of questions that come outside the country are very different from the kind of questions that come from distributors or investors within the country. And that whole thing, why do we sponsor this kind of events, or why do we believe that investor education money has to be used very judiciously for investor education, is that there is a huge gap between what our capabilities are as fund managers and what the market expectation is. When I listen to my father-in-law, I get very, very worried. Because his expectation is that I have given money to an expert. My father-in-law believes that I have given money to an expert and I should get return out of it. And our expertise, I know our expertise is only to give a relative return. We are not magicians. We cannot give an absolute return. we can have different strategies, and in the different strategies, I can say so much I have beaten the benchmarks. A huge percentage of my AUM has beaten the benchmark. If I am able to say that, I am very happy. But the expectations from the markets are very different from what our capabilities are. There is a huge bridge between the two. There is a huge gap between the two, and we need to put a bridge for that, and that is where I believe you all come into. The questions asked, I have just put down. What is my talk today is only on what are the questions that you should ask us. You should ask us when we come with strategies, are we invested in the strategy that we are telling you? Are we as managers invested in the strategies that we are telling you? That is one of the things that used to work very well with fund managers outside the country. And people should have invested after seeing the return of 2008. Nobody invested in mutual funds. So do the investors have had a positive experience by investing in mutual funds? I will very proudly show that over the last 10 years we have made so much money for the investors. But that, yes, the fund's track record is to make money. But did the investors come at the right time? Did the investors come in infrastructure fund in 2005, or did the investors come into infrastructure fund in 2007? When they come in 2007, my brand name gets spoiled, right? And your customers' experience is that it's all happening because we chase returns and we don't ask the right questions. So that is my whole my whole talk, or my whole theme, or my passion, and the whole investors' education budget that we have. We want to use it for this particular thing. That are the investors aware what is an ideal AMC and what should be the AMC looking at? And the first and the foremost question that foreigners try to assess us on is what is our culture. They come and spend a lot of time with us. They come to our office. 2 or 3 days are spent with us. We manage a fund from Japan. We manage almost $500 million from a Japanese fund. And it was more than $1 billion at some point of time. Slowly the fund has become $500 million. Thanks to the dollar devaluation also, and thanks to the exits that are happening also. But they called us to Japan for 2-3 days. For 3 days they called us to Japan. They wanted us to understand their culture, and when they wanted to listen to me and Nimesh over a period of 3-4 days before they would give us money to us. That was their thought. Their thought was to understand us completely, understand the culture that we come from, what is the corporate governance culture that we bring in, what is our value system, what is the group's value system, how does Prudential manage us, how does ICICI get into it, is there a Chinese wall between the investment department of ICICI Bank and Naren's department, how many people from the company talk to the sponsor. There are so many questions that go into, because we are very confident. We trade in ICICI Bank shares also, right? We trade in ICICI Bank shares. And that is a theme that I always use outside, that I am so confident of our Chinese walls. I am so confident of my investment team's independence that I have not stopped my investment team from trading into ICICI shares. So we buy ICICI shares when we think so that is the confidence that we have. SEBI can open our books at any point of time on this particular thing as to whether our structure, whether our organization structure is such that the fund managers have the importance that they deserve. I have been with the group for 20 years, but each of the other people in the company are AMC professionals. All my one-downs have spent a lot of their times only in investment business. All my one-downs, whether it is my CIO debt, whether it is my CIO equity, whether my sales head, nobody is parachuted from ICICI Bank. It is not required. The CEO position might remain from there, but the rest of the company are independent professionals who have been doing the same business since a long number of years. Right? That's where, and you understand culture. Most of us are in our early 40s or late 30s, and by talking to people, we assess them. We understand. So I think a very important thing for you as advisors also will be to judge us. हमारा value system क्या है? हमसे 5-10 मिनट बात करो, judgment आ जाता है. We cannot on a continuous. I've been in this. You can see, and more than talking to us, you have to judge us in our culture by our actions. What are we doing on the ground? What are experts like Dhirendra Kumar talking about us? right? Whether they are talking good things, bad things, there is a lot to be read between the lines in this particular business or in any business in trying to understand people. And according to me, a company is as good as the people it has and the quality of people it has. So according to me, we are managing other people's money. Actually, it humbles me a lot. And no other business I've spent 6 years. I've done so many other businesses, but I enjoy that business. I get very humbled when every day evening, hand on heart, I can say this industry is superb today. The way regulations have changed in this industry over the last 3-4 years. A lot of questions came outside on the negative